Namaskar. As you're all aware, the Supreme Court of India rendered a milestone judgment. It struck down the government's electoral bond scheme and asked the Election Commission of India to inform through its website to the people of this country, the political parties, all the political parties who received monies under the scheme. It also told the State Bank of India to give all the data in relation to the donors. So we have on the one hand the names of the donors who purchased the bonds, and on the other hand we have the names of political parties who encashed the bonds. Now, the significant issue that arises, and it's going to be part of the discussion of Dilse today, how do you match the purchaser with the political party which encashed the bond? Now, several very informed citizens have been actually delving into this issue, and we have some very, very interesting data which we will discuss today in the course of our conversations. But for this, we have three very, very important and great friends with us. We have Madan Lokur, Justice Madan Lokur, who's been Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court, Chief Justice of Andhra Pradesh, and then, of course, in the Supreme Court to 2012 to 2018.
Right.
And then he is now also a judge of the Fiji Supreme Court. So he is completely familiar with the issues. So thank you very much for being here. We have Sitaram Yechury, a great friend of mine. We go back for a long time. And we were part of the same government under the UPA. He's had a checkered career. He is born in Chennai, studied in Hyderabad, came to Delhi, joined the JNU, be part of the SFI movement, became a member of the Central Committee in '85, became a member of the Bureau in 1992, was a member of the Rajya Sabha from 2005 to 2017. In 2015, you became the General Secretary of the CBI.
My God, you've done a lot of homework.
Right.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you very much for being here. We have Arun Kumar, who is an economist. He was in Princeton University. And from then he came to Delhi and joined JNU. He's a professor there. He taught there for, I don't know, umpteen years. And of course, now he writes and he tells us all about the state of the economy. But today we're going to talk about electoral bonds. So let me start off with the question. Was it not necessary for the State Bank of India to reveal the connection between the purchaser of the bond and the ultimate beneficiary, and to find out who got the money from the purchaser?
Yes, it was necessary. And, the first time when the State Bank made an application for extension of time, I think the Supreme Court had kind of hinted that you have to give the entire information. And then when the second time when the matter came up, I mean, the Supreme Court made it absolutely clear that all means all. So you have to give all information. So I think it would have been better if, in the first instance, there was no ambiguity in the orders of the Supreme Court. It would have been better if the State Bank had revealed all the information in the first instance itself.
But unfortunately, we still don't have that connection between the purchaser of the bond and the encashment by the political party. The chain between the purchaser is not yet complete.
Yeah, but I think it should not be difficult. In some cases it is known, right? But I don't think it's going to be difficult to figure it out.
It's a matter of time. It is being worked out, in fact, because what has happened is what the SBI was reluctant to provide was what is called the alphanumerical numbers. Now they were, in the last instance, when the Supreme Court was very insistent, they provided that. So it's a question of matching the two. And that exercise is already on, and much of it has been done. And then from other records, you also have data on when a particular party
That's
was
correct.
raided, or when a particular party got which contract.
Correct.
And it has now come out that the tunnel that collapsed in Uttarakhand,
Yes.
and that was given to, who donated? 55 crores through the electoral bond.
Sita, did the CPM receive any bond at all?
No.
So you were the only party,
Only party.
that did
They
not
opposed
receive
it,
an
actually.
electoral bond.
And
They opposed it.
we are one of the petitioners. And when we went for the
That was an ideological position.
ideological position, and it came up in the Honorable Chief Justice. He said, "What is your locus standi?" And we said, "You're a political party." I mean, no political party was allowed to be the petitioner. I said, "Our locus standi is we are the only party that refused to take it as a matter of principle." I mean, not only did we oppose it in the parliament, you were there.
I
when
was
we were
very
both
much
doing
there,
it.
yes.
When we opposed it in the parliament, but we said in matter of principle, we think this is legalization of political corruption. We cannot be party to it.
That's laudable.
I
Arun?
think Sita is absolutely right. This is actually bribe and white. This is what we've been writing since 2018-19, that now you can bribe legally, because you think the names will not come out, so you can give to parties what you want to do.
Right.
But regarding the names coming out, there is one problem that is there, because a lot of money came to the shell companies.
Yes.
When the money is coming from shell companies, then somebody is giving to the shell company, which is then putting the money in there. And then what's also happening possibly is there's trading going on, because you have to encash it within 15 days. So you have 14 days to trade it. So you can sell it to somebody else for a premium, and that person then donates the money.
Correct.
So the person who's behind, that may not
That's
get revealed.
therefore
Yes.
the chain has to
So
be
the chain has
established.
to be established, and
That's the point I was
therefore,
making.
in all the cases, the chain may not be easy to establish.
That's right.
Well, that'll take time. So as you rightly said, you have to look at other data. Who got caught when, who was then paying off at what point of time. All this will have to be established
linked
over
up.
time. Now, there's an issue that is there, that even foreign entities may have donated money.
That's correct.
You see, because they could have given to shell companies, and then through the shell companies, it could have gone to the party. This is going to be a real minefield, when these kind of things get revealed, which foreign parties, etc., because you can transfer money through Hawala, and through Hawala you can do these transactions,
Yes.
So all that will have to come out over a period of time. It will not be immediate, but it will be very important.
But let me go back. I'm sorry, Madan.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, somebody will have to do that
No,
investigation.
it's being done, sir. Because you see, there are companies which have bought bonds which are multiple times of their annual profit.
Yes.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Now, where did that money come from? This has to be
Absolutely,
gone.
yeah.
In fact, if the ED or any investigation agency should be doing something.
That's not going to happen.
No, exactly. No, not after opposition leaders, but this is what they must be doing, finding out.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is exactly what. And remember, Kapil, when this issue came up, the amendments to the corporate law.
I opposed it.
Yeah,
so
you
strongly.
opposed. I moved an amendment.
That's right.
And what did they change? That earlier the law was only companies that had profit for 3 consecutive years could donate not more than 7.5%
Correct.
of their profits to the political parties. They removed both the clause. So now you open the door for plethora of shell companies
Correct.
to operate, or even companies, normal companies,
Yeah.
who were buying electoral bonds themselves.
Right.
Were also approached through what you were just
Yes.
explaining.
Correct.
And then they bought in 300 times, 1,000 times more than the profits they made. No, this is that money that is coming through, and foreign money also, I'm sure, has flown.
This needs to be investigated.
Yeah.
What you're saying, and to investigate that, as you rightly said, the official agencies are not going to do it. I think the courts will have to intervene and possibly say some kind of SIT would have to be set up, which would be independent of these agencies, and that can then possibly go into the details of these kind of transactions. Otherwise, it's not going to come out.
No, the point I wanted to raise was somewhat different, and this is very, very useful for the viewers. But the point is, when they introduced this scheme in 2018 in January, what do you think was the intent? According to me, if you amend the Companies Act and you say that any company can donate as much as it wants, and that you may be also a loss-making company, so obviously the intent of the political party and the government was to make money on this.
Yes.
That was the intent itself.
Yes.
Because otherwise, how do you not retain the cap? Because you know, if you lift the cap, then you can have any amount of money from the big players.
Exactly.
And if it's a loss-making company, even then you can make it. That means you can actually set up shell companies,
Yes.
set up and have loss-making companies and contribute.
Yes.
So the intent was corrupt, is what
Yes,
I was trying
absolutely,
to say.
correct, absolutely.
That's the point I was trying to
And it was a crooked intent. Sorry for using this term. It was a crooked intent.
Yes.
That you have opened up the floodgates for this sort of shell company operations. And if you recollect, in Rajya Sabha, that amendment was passed.
Yes.
It went back to the Lok Sabha. With their majority, they rejected it. But we passed that amendment opposing these amendments
The
to the
initiation was
government.
corrupt, with a corrupt motive. The initiation itself, because they knew that this would happen.
Yes.
Otherwise, no finance minister would introduce a scheme like this. And that's a very, very serious issue. You introduce legislations to make money
So
for the
Kapil,
political party.
yeah, you know, the two things that need to be said here. One is it's called electoral bond, but it's actually not for election.
I know, I said that. That's
So,
what I argued.
you know, what's happening is it goes to the party. It doesn't go to the individual candidate.
No, that was his argument in court.
Yes, still be limited to 95 lakhs in
Correct.
big constituencies, 75 lakh here.
Correct.
Right. Whereas they are spending at least 20, 30, 40 times that amount.
Yeah.
That will still come in black.
Right.
So this amount is actually going to the parties for their other functions.
Absolutely.
And not for election.
Horse
so therefore it
trading.
should
Basically
yes.
horse trading.
So whatever else they're doing, they're setting up buildings, they're doing other things, horse trading, etc. And then they're collecting black. So the idea that this will prevent the black from being used for election, that has nothing to do with it. Right? So it is, as you said, to make an extra amount of money,
Yes.
which is an additionality to what they were doing. So it's continuing. You know, when the Home Minister says that now everything will be black, that's not correct. It was black, it continues to be black. This was only a small amount.
And
average of 2,000 crores per year, right? Whereas what the parties are spending is maybe 10 to 15,000 crores per year. So the rest is all coming in black.
Look at it. This is now, this data is only from April 12, 2019 to January 2024. But 85% of the bonds prior to 2019, the value of those bonds went to the BJP.
BJP.
And that has not been revealed.
No,
Now,
and
if the Supreme Court says, I'm going to ask you, request you to comment on it. If the Supreme Court says that this is the fundamental right of the citizen to know who donated to whom in the course of an election, then why should the 2018-19 data not be revealed?
I frankly, I don't see any reason why, that should not be disclosed. One reason is that the electoral bond scheme itself says that if apart from being unconstitutional, it says if the court asks for information, you have to give it.
Yes, yes. Or
Right?
the agencies, or the investigating
Or the agencies.
Yes.
So if the court says that, well, we are asking for it, you please give it, why not?
So I didn't see the rationale of that information not being
Yeah,
given.
yeah.
No,
there's
but
no
Kapil,
rationale.
you'll have to, I think, some of you will have to take it up in court, sir. The point was that the Election Commission has said that according to your order, Supreme Court's order, we have submitted everything in a sealed envelope to the Supreme Court. This information is there with you. If you send it back to us, we will publish it. From some of the reports that we have seen, the Supreme Court ordered the registry to make copies of that and send it to the Election Commission.
Correct.
Then why is it not up?
The problem is the Supreme Court.
That is the issue.
Yeah, but see that what they said. Supreme Court said we passed our interim order on the 12th of April 2019, which put political parties on notice that any donation made hereafter can be revealed. But if you strike down the scheme as unconstitutional,
Then even
and you
that
say
should
it's a fundamental right to get information, then there is no question of the interim order coming in the way. That's the point I was trying to.
I frankly, I don't see any logic in the.
Yes,
I think somebody will have to go to
conclusion.
No,
court,
but
as Sita
he's
is rightly
absolutely
saying.
right.
Yeah.
Some of you will have to go to court and then say that even that data should be revealed because that's
Yes.
25% of the total amount that's contributed. And therefore we need to know. And there's criminality involved because now it's very clear that there's a quid-pro-quo. There's a quid-pro-quo earlier also. So if it has to be investigated, even that should be investigated. And therefore criminality is involved and should come out.
Now, let me tell you the quid pro quo, because I have some facts I think viewers should know.
Sure.
On the 23rd of December 2021, ED provisionally attached immovable properties of 19 crores of San Diego Martin, right? Now, this happened on 23rd January. On 5th January, 23rd December, on 5th January, he buys electoral bonds worth 100 crores. That is within 2 weeks. On 6th January, he purchased another lot of 110 crores. Okay. Then comes, this is interesting, on 2nd April 2022, ED provisionally attaches movable assets of 409 crores of this very entity. That's 2nd April. On 7th April, the Future Gaming purchases electoral bonds worth 100 crores within 5 days. 2nd July 2022, ED attaches movable and immovable properties worth 173 crores of this very entity under PMLA. This is 2nd July. On 6th July, he buys another 75 crores. Right? Then on September 21, ED files prosecution complaint against him, against Future Gaming and 15 other companies. That's 21st September. On 5th October, he gives 65 crores. Now, that shows you that obviously it's related. Now, what's more interesting is that now we found out when the BJP encashed the bond. Okay? So the BJP has listed that it received 50 crores in electoral bonds from a company in Chennai on 5th October.
Oh, okay.
And there is no other receipt other than from
this
here.
one.
Okay. According to investigation, one Chennai-based company purchased 50 crores of bonds, 1 crore each on that day, and that was future trading, right? And BJP lists receiving 50 crores from bonds purchased in Chennai on 5th January, the date I've given you. Again, the only Chennai-based company that touches 50 crore bonds, 1 crore each, is Future Gaming. So now you have here the link directly established. The Quid-Pro-Quo directly established. Why has the ED not prosecuted them?
That's one thing. The other thing which Professor Arun Kumar was saying, where is this money coming from? ED said that we've attached all the assets, movable, immovable, and yet they're able to give, hundreds of crores.
Because it's this lottery business generates, you can't even imagine, even as a judge, you can't imagine how much money they make. He has contributed 1,000 crores.
Yeah, he's contributed 1,000 crores, yeah.
No,
but shouldn't that also be investigated?
No, that's lottery business.
But
lottery business also needs to be investigated.
It doesn't come under electoral bonds. We're talking about electoral.
His profits shown in the balance sheet.
Yes.
No, balance sheet is much less than that. Much less than that. So where did that extra coming out?
It's all black.
So is this also money laundering route to convert black into white?
Exactly, yeah.
That's how they bond with future trading.
That's the bonding with future.
Right.
And this is, I can replicate this company
several
after
cases,
company. I've got all the data.
Yeah, you got. There's also a case with this liquor bond in which Mr. Kejriwal has been arrested.
Correct.
Or one of the approvers who turned approver.
Yes, he's given 62 crores.
62.
He gave 5 crores first and then 50 crores more, and therefore, and then he got released.
And he's, of course, an approver. He's not going to be arrested.
Yeah, turned approver and he's been acquitted.
First he was released on bail and then he turned approver. So twice he gave the money and got it.
And then you were talking about, and then Vedanta, foreign companies are talking about. The contribution is by Vedanta.
Right.
Because Vedanta has a subsidiary in India. And so you got so much detail on Vedanta. So where does this end? This is a country which is run by the corporate sector in collaboration with the government to have deals together. One of deal in politics and the deal in making money. That's what it is.
This is the corporate Hindutva nexus. That is what I would call it. Corporate Hindutva
Kapil,
nexus.
I call this the triad. The triad between the corrupt political class, the corrupt business class, and the corrupt executive.
Yeah.
The three together get together to generate extra profits over and above what they can generate in white. And then they give a part of that, to the political process and so others. So this triad, is illegal, basically. So illegality is growing. That's what it shows. And now, this bond actually made that partly illegal because you could give it legally to them, without being afraid of being revealed.
Legalized political corruption.
Exactly.
That is what it was. That's what we said in Parliament. I stuck to that. And I still maintain this is exactly what they did.
But why are they not investigating the matter?
That is the thing.
That is the crucial question.
$1 million question.
I think this merits consideration. with all of us, because we are already one of the ones who made the petition against this as a political party. I think we should petition the Honorable Supreme Court to establish an SIT, independent of the ED and all these things. Establish an SIT. I don't know what will work.
Yeah, but if it's going to be private citizens, it's obviously not going to be ED and all these CBI and all that. It's going to be private citizens. How are they going to get the information? I mean, if the banks were refusing to give it to the Supreme Court, they'll never give it to a private citizen or a committee of private citizens.
But can the Supreme Court give them the authority to actually investigate, and therefore they could have some judicial powers?
Yeah, all right.
There could be some, legal personalities and so on.
That will require a commission of inquiry. Under the commission.
Why
of
not
inquiry.
a continuing mandamus like the 2G, what they did in the 2G, where Justice Verma was heading that bench, and have an SIT not of private citizens, but have an SIT of officers picked by the court.
That's possible.
That's possible.
That's possible, but I don't know if the court will go to that extent.
No, but with these kind of facts.
You'll have to do
it's
that.
like with these kind of facts in the public domain, if the court does not do it, we need to go to court and say this kind of data. For example, this Navyug engineering company lost 1920 78 crores and contribution is 45 crores.
Exactly.
I mean, we have this data.
Yes, exactly. No, that's why I think this merits consideration.
Absolutely.
I think all of us will have to move the court
Correct.
for an SIT, which is given that authority, like the 2G mandate, what you said.
Yes.
And I think they should be investigated because in the country's interest, and the system's interest. I mean, how is it possible for loss-making companies to buy bonds?
No, and that's the intent of the scheme. That's the
Yeah.
you correlate it with the intent, and you realize the scheme was born with a corrupt motive.
Exactly.
So the interesting thing is, while you say that I'll not allow corruption to take place, you enable corruption to take place. So in a weak democratic system,
And you call the opposition corrupt.
You call them, and therefore you weaken the opposition, which enables you then to do more corruption.
Na khaunga, na khane dunga.
No, but it enables them to do more corruption because once the opposition is weak, the institutions are weak, then you can do it with impunity. That's what I think this implied. And everywhere in the world you can see whenever you have dictatorships, they've turned corrupt, whether it's Marcos in Philippines, whether it's Abacha in Nigeria, etc. And the huge amount, Hosni Mubarak in Egypt, huge amount, $60-70 billion they had amassed. So the opposition has to be strong. Opposition has to be protected.
Arun, remember, this is not only electoral bonds. You have that PM care.
Correct.
That's another 10,000 crores.
Let me just tell you. The electoral bond that is not encashed goes to PM care.
Oh, they're going to PM care. That's it.
PM
And it's a private trust. It's a private trust.
It's a private trust.
PM care.
Not accountable.
My pension as an MP, a month's pension was cut.
Right.
By orders of the PM.
Yes, to donate to them.
And maybe your salary was cut as an MP.
I don't
And
know.
public sector was told to contribute.
Public sector was told to. And now they say it's a private trust.
But Sita,
You can't investigate my account.
Sita, there's something further. Apparently now some people have found under RTI that some were not encashed within 15 days, and then they called up the Ministry of Finance, and then the Ministry of Finance enabled them.
Only in one case.
But that shows that there was a link between the Ministry of Finance and the bank.
Without a
SBI.
doubt, without a doubt, there was a link.
And therefore, they were guiding what has to be done. That seems to imply.
What happened was that the issue was that he deposited the electoral bond within the 15 days, was not encashed. So Arun Jaitley then passed an order saying because he had deposited in 15 days, therefore the 15-day doesn't apply. Though the scheme said you have to encash it within 15 days. Because the political party to whom it was given did not encash it. So then they thought that there's a loss. This related to the election in Bangalore.
Yeah, but the point, Kapil, is that there was a touch between SBI and the Ministry of Finance. That is the important thing. Whereas it's supposed to be secret. Therefore, people are talking two separate silos, not being able to match it. But here you have a direct link with the agency, and therefore the fear that people had that only the government will get to know who's contributing what, that fear seems to be getting proved. Even the Home Minister said that once the data comes out, then the opposition will have mud on its face. That means he knew what was going on. So therefore, the government is the only one, and that's the problem. That you say that it is going to be anonymous, it was not anonymous. And therefore, the opposition was at a disadvantage. And this is where in a democracy, if the opposition has a disadvantage, then it's a huge setback to democracy.
Democracy, no level playing field.
No level playing field.
And even this electoral trusts you have,
Yes.
80% of that has gone to the BJP.
Exactly.
You have that, the
Several
Tata
trusts.
Trust and the other
Several trusts
Prudential
are
Trust and all. 80% to BJP, PM cares, then the electoral bonds. Now, what is happening? I mean, it is a clear-cut loot that is taking place. Absolute loot.
Weakening of democracy. The level playing field is not there. And in a democracy, if the opposition is weakened, then you can, with impunity, do what you like.
Now, the next question is, okay, you have corruption. This is a corrupt scheme. Now, from this money, the party in power has bought assets.
Yes.
Has bought assets.
Assets.
It has built a whole network in India. It has spent on so many other things. Now, if there is a quid pro quo, those assets have to be seized. That's the law under the PMLA and have to be recovered. So you have built mansions for your party, of party offices all over the country.
Every district, I'm told.
Every district. And you have spent this money, and therefore the next question that arises is to find out where you have spent this money. You need another investigation, because then the ED must seize these properties.
Yes.
That's the other thing, because it seizes properties of private individuals or those who they prosecute. They seize the bank account. So why should the BJP's bank account not be seized to the extent of the monies that they've got? I'm raising a question of law.
Exactly.
I'm not saying
No, you're right.
So, because that's the law.
Yeah.
That's the PMLA,
That's
right?
the PMLA.
Right.
So if the
PMLA.
PMLA applies to others, why does it not apply to this party?
BJP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but again, the whole thing will require an investigation. Now, who is going to do that investigation?
SIT, sir. I think I'm getting convinced because of this discussion.
Yeah.
No, you are
And we'll
absolutely
come
right.
to you, Kapil, to plead
No, the point I'm making is that the laws are also being applied unequally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if there is a whiff of corruption, the ED will land up and arrest the man.
Correct.
Right.
Right? And here there is open loot.
Right.
And we have the data with us, and I've just given you one instance.
Correct.
And nothing is happening.
So politically, Sita, the parties have to very actively campaign on this, so that there's pressure built up, the public gets to know, then only I think maybe the courts may probably, and then people like Kapil would have to apply to or file a
और ये
petition.
सब हिंदी में जनता को जाना चाहिए.
बिल्कुल सही. नहीं हम तो because we as the CJ himself said, you have the local stand. Now other political parties on this issue will have to now join.
But you see, Sita, the question is, why has your India alliance not even raised this issue together?
On
this, yes.
On electoral bonds?
Yes.
No, we did, but right now India alliance is busy with that seat sharing till the individual parties have been raising it. So, but now, immediately after Holi, after another 2 days,
you better get your act together. You better get your
act together, absolutely. Take your help also.
Time is short, so it has to be immediate
about
action.
Immediately, yes.
You were going to
And
say.
people like Justice Madan Lokur have to give advice, proper advice, as to how
he
to.
is the best lawyer in the country. He'll give you proper
But
advice.
your advice is also very important, how to tackle this issue. Because given how badly the institutions have been damaged, how to now move on this?
Retrieve at least.
But yeah, somebody will have to go to court.
Yes, that is the only
there's
way,
no
sir.
doubt. Yeah, there's
That's the only way from what I can see.
doubt about
No other way.
There's no other way.
Right. And put all this data on record and tell the court
And
now
it
you
has
set
to
it
be a
up.
court-monitored SIT.
Yes,
That will have to be established.
yes,
With a judicial authority.
of course.
And
And a continuing mandamus, as I say.
Yeah.
I was looking at history
Right.
as to whether such things have ever happened in history. And I came across Lord Cornwallis. Lord Cornwallis became a Lord Lieutenant for Ireland in 1798. And after he became a Lord Lieutenant, as you know, Ireland had a parliament at that time, right? And that parliament was at complete odds with the British parliament. So England wanted, the UK wanted to dissolve that parliament, right? So what they did was, they told the majority, or to each member they called, and they said, look, we will make you members of the House of Commons.
House of Commons?
Yes.
Okay.
And you dissolve the Irish Parliament, right? And they give them money. I'm just telling you that this has happened in history before.
Right.
They bought all the majority members, and the minority which did not agree, they prosecuted them.
Prosecuted?
Yes. They put false cases on them, prosecuted them. In that process, they passed a resolution dissolving the Irish Parliament. This is history for you,
My.
right? Now, this is what's happened. This is what has happened now in India, right? Actually, you have, in a sense, made Parliament impotent.
Impotent, completely.
Right? You have made institutions impotent by the power of money. If you can dissolve a whole Parliament with the power of money,
So that's why, in retrospect, I think I left at the right time.
But you can't leave the country. The country
No,
is in
can't
the
leave
boat.
the
You know, you may leave
Parliament.
the parliament, but the country is suffering because if the parliament is weakened, then how can the country
I
function?
agree,
you know?
I agree.
I mean,
Agree.
this
I've
is-
just
this-
said it as
No, no,
This is just
agree.
one example in history. There will be umpteen examples where the state uses this kind of power, right, to demolish institutions. And once you have this kind of money and the corporate sector in your favor and pandering to your wishes, where is democracy?
No, it's already happening, Kapil. You see, the supremacy of the executive over the parliament. I mean, this is what is happening. Supremacy of the executive over the judiciary.
Right.
They give an order. You, by law, change it. Change that Supreme Court verdict on the pass of the Delhi government. On the question of composition of the committee to appoint the election commissioners. By law, you change them and say this law is supreme. So the executive supremacy, gone are the days of your constitutional separation of powers, of the equality, executive, legislature and the judiciary, each functioning independently and being accountable to each other. I mean, that whole conception, the constitutional scheme of things, that is virtually, being destroyed completely.
One other thing that's happened is, we are as a nation very feudal. We bow to authority. And that's why, people who are in the various institutions, they're not standing up. If they could stand up and they were to prevent that from happening, how do we enable that to happen? That becomes a big question.
This is diabolic, Arun. Also, you please understand, a democracy is the relationship between the state and the citizen.
Correct.
A feudal order is a relationship between a ruler and a subject.
So we are in that situation today.
You're brought back. I mean, what is this, all sorts of rituals that are going on, with the Prime Minister leading as the leading pujari of every ritual.
Yeah. How do you have Ram Rajya without accountability? Ram Rajya has to have accountability.
Well,
where is accountability?
We are moving away from electoral bonds. But Justice Lokur, let me just request you to comment on what do you think the Supreme Court, in the context of what it has done before, do you have any hope that the Supreme Court will really...
They should. They should. You see, you've had a very important case of this Jain Hawala, for example, right? Where
I happen to be the lawyer.
Yeah, but you had a lot of, VIP politicians who were accused. You had 2G. You've had the coal scam, right, where it was sent to a special judge. So there are instances of this nature, where the Supreme Court has intervened. Chandraswamy's case is another one. So you've had SITs investigating into these things. So it is possible. It's not something that is unprecedented, which is being discussed.
No, I'm not talking about unprecedented.
Yeah.
If you talk the Jain Hawala case, pardon my saying so, there everybody was...
No, that's all right.
Why? Because on a legal proposition, I happen to be the lawyer. Legal proposition that entries in diaries are not admissible.
Yeah. No, that's a different
Right?
point.
So therefore, everybody was free.
So,
Yeah.
52 names were there, and I think 2 people admitted.
Yeah.
And
We-
yet,
we know that.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
naming,
but
but 2
Kapil,
people admitted. we
my
don't-
good
they
friend
lied.
was denied becoming a minister because he admitted it.
Right.
The point is not whether they
Yeah,
will
I
be acquitted or
understand.
not, but the point is to how does the court monitor the investigation? What the result of that investigation will be, nobody knows. But the court will have to monitor that
There's
investigation.
a difference,
Yeah.
Madan. There's a difference. Difference is during UPI time, both the press and the courts, right, were functioning somewhat differently. My worry is only that, which is why I raised this issue. Point is, the court must now realize, given that the press is not willing to do anything, not willing to investigate, it is only citizens who are investigating. And if the court doesn't rise to the occasion, then what is in jeopardy is democracy itself. Because if this continues, we're not going to have the kind of institutions we've had in the past.
No way.
That's my worry.
They have changed over a period of time, and they're continuing to change. So you're right that we cannot compare with 90s to today's judiciary.
Or even during the
yeah.
emergency, the courts were still up in arms, right?
In today's situation, do you expect the courts to be able to
They should, but will they or not? It's really difficult to say. But really, whether the courts have the support of the press or not, I don't think it should matter at all.
Yes.
Theoretically,
The
yes,
courts
but
are independent.
public pressure may have
Yeah, public pressure, but then that public pressure will have to come from
the political.
political parties.
Because it's not coming from the media, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not coming from the
That's
media.
right.
No.
Already the degeneration has set in fairly deep.
Correct.
Now, it's high time that we step in to stop it from totally disintegrating. I entirely agree with you. Democracy is in danger, the entire system is in danger. Before it totally disintegrates, we need to intervene.
You see, what has happened to parliamentary democracy in this country is that the executive is answerable to no.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody. Yeah.
This is the state of affairs today.
We the people, what is the meaning of it?
Yes.
Sovereignty is with the people. How do they exercise it? Through the elected representatives who are accountable to them, and the executive accountable to the elected representatives. That is the linkage. You destroy the parliament, linkage gone. So we the people gone. I mean, it just
Absolutely,
collapses.
that's the
Just
reality.
collapses. It just collapses.
And Gandhi in Hind Swaraj actually said this.
Yeah.
In Hind Swaraj, he says the PM is not accountable to the party is not accountable to the people.